Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to our daily Vivaldi edit. I was musing over the video we made yesterday, and I suddenly thought that first of all, I described the pedal note at the end of the D major Ripione concerto as massive. That was probably a little bit of an overstatement. It's not one of his biggest, and that brought me to thinking actually to a concert we had the good fortune to do in Venice, of all places, back in 2017, and we had this pedal note, which is rather amazing. There you go. There you go, that's a proper pedal note. That's the single choir version of the Beatus Vir, RV795, the one that was wrongly attributed to Galuppi in the Dresden source. So there you go. Of course, although I did say that, I said that Vivaldi sort of tended to use pedal notes more in his later periods than his earlier. Obviously, he does use them in his earlier stuff as well. For instance, well, there's a cracking one at the end of the fugue of the Opus 3 number 11, but that's for another day. Anyway, back to fiddle concertos. So we finished the Opus 12. Today we are looking, as I said, at RV 341. This is a concerto that survives in a single source in Dresden, not in Pisendel's hand, but in the hand of Quantz, the famous flute player, Theorist, and one of Pisendel's copyists. For somebody of Quantz's calibre, I would have expected this manuscript to be a little bit more accurate. He seems to have certain problems with the alto clef, which is slightly strange. But, I mean, for instance, the final chord, the first movement, Quantz has written thus, which obviously makes no sense. It should be so much nicer, particularly if you're in A major. And then there's this curious episode here. We'll just do this for the time being. So we're going along. Whoops, we've forgotten to put the accompaniment in, haven't we? The bizarre thing is that, I mean, it's quite clear to me that with the change of affect in the fiddle part, that Quantz, sorry, I'm getting myself muddled now, that Vivaldi intends a change of accompaniment. Indeed, you get one of these sort of dum, 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 sort of cliffhanger things in the bass, and then it's classic Vivaldi where he would suddenly change to the upper strings for a sort of more ethereal effect. Interestingly, the beginning of the final ritornello of the first movement, Quantz has actually written the notes that the violin, the second violin, and the viola all start with. So we know that that's how they're supposed to finish. So I have come up with a suggestion, something along the following. So there you go. That's possibly what it may have sounded like. I have to say, having attempted at various times in my life to write the Vivaldian sort of 3-part upper string accompaniment, it looks incredibly simple, yet it is so very, very hard to get it right. I mean, it's just, you know, it just looks so simple on the page, and to the ear it sounds incredibly simple. But Vivaldi has I mean, he's just a genius. He really is. Talking of genius, I think the opening ritornello of this piece is pure genius. Let's play it for you. Do you know what? We'll take it a bit slower than that, won't we? Oh, sorry. There we go. Gives you the idea. I mean, it's just we were talking about in the Opus 12 about how often Vivaldi, roundabout sort of towards the end of the 1720s, will sort of effectively have a, if you like, have a sort of reverse pedal note with the pedal note at the top of the texture, and then the violas and the basses gradually moving downwards in step. It's exactly what he does here. So all these rushing scales, you've got essentially an A through the violins for the first 1, 2, 3, 4 bars, and there's beautiful bum ba ba dim bum bum bi di dim bum bum, moving downwards in step with the violas and the basses, and then you get this amazing it's almost a viola can moment, but it's a really beautiful use of the violas. I mean, it's like when in Mozart, when you suddenly get in a slow movement when an oboe comes in at the top of the texture and holds a really long straight note. It's exactly the same kind of thing. And bear in mind that Vivaldi didn't have the kind of orchestra that Mozart had. He had to make do most of the time with strings. But what he does with it is just genius. I mean, it's just so beautiful. There's this static line underneath the undulating fiddles. Absolute genius. Then you get an opening solo, and then you get this bit coming back, but he puts a really funky fiddle part on the top here in triple stopping. So there you go. Slow movement. Vivaldi was a pragmatist, and so many times, particularly in the later works, if you just got sort of straight quavers or straight semi-quavers, he'll start writing them out, and then he'll either just write in crotchets, minims, or semibreves, and he'll just write chrome or semi-chrome, which tells you to continue playing quavers, semi-quavers, whatever. This, I would have thought this movement would be a case in point where you just basically that the upper violins, there's no basso continuo in the slow movement. The upper violins play the entire movement apart from the last bar in demi-semi-quavers in 4/4. And I mean, if you think about how long that must take to write out, if you've got a quill. I mean, it took me a while with computer software, but with a quill and the amount of ink you need to use. I mean, Vivaldi surely would have just written a semi-brave but no, Quantz has written it out in full. He obviously had some time to kill, this boy. So there you go. It looks rather black, doesn't it? So that's what he's written. Interestingly, the direction to the solo is cantabile a piacimento. At the beginning, I'm sure, is Vivaldi's direction, not Quantz's. Often you see cantabile used in the slow movements to tell the solos to play as sweetly as possible. And a piacimento, I think Vivaldi, I've seen it a few times in Vivaldi slow movements. I think it means, he's basically meaning that the soloist should ornament the hell out of it. I mean, it's a very simple cantabile melody, but he's saying, you know, do what you want. It's all yours. So if I was playing that, I would probably, you know, stick a few noodles and things in it. It'd be lovely. There you go. And then last movement, very, as a sort of foil to the opening ritornello, which is the opening ritornello. It is vast, expansive. You get a really brief, very simple but incredibly effective ritornello at the beginning of the last movement. You know, the butchers at this. Very simple, very nice. Yeah, no nonsense, does exactly what it says on the tin, doesn't it? So maybe it should be the Vivaldi Ronseal Concerto, who knows? But regarding a date for this, the first movement, I would have said it was a relatively late piece. But then you get this solo in the last movement, which is more like something you'd come across in Grosso Mogul or Feast for the Holy Tongue of St. Anthony and Padua, Battersea Dog's Own Concerto, yeah. So there you go. Who knows? I mean, I'd probably go sort of mid-1720s for this, I reckon. So there you go. Yeah, that's it, folks, for today. Tomorrow we are looking at Opus 4, number 4, which is a really good piece. So this gets an aid rating of 9.5. See you tomorrow. Ciao.